Hello everyone, this is Saman and welcome back to another episode of our YouTube channel. Today we are with Mehdi, one of the few who has remigrated from the England to Iran, and we're going to go through the challenges and the experiences he has during his career. So first of all, we're going to say thank you so much, Mehdi, for your time, and please, if it's possible, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Hello guys, my name is Mehdi Tahiri. I have lived in the UK for 13 years, and after getting my GCSEs after high school, my parents decided for us to return to Iran.
It's a very strange experience. So you spent several years living in the UK. Looking back, what was the biggest challenge when adapting to a new country?
Well, I cannot tell you from an adult's point of view because I was a child back then. But I'm going to share some of the experiences I had. One of them is related to the cultural differences. I remember when I went to school, I used to take packed lunches in primary school, and once I took some boiled eggs with me, and these white British kids, I don't know why, they said, "Oh, you have eggs with you." I mean, what? I was very surprised. I was shocked. I was like, I mean, it's egg. You don't eat eggs in the UK, I was so shocked. And then I started looking and observing what other kids eat. They always had snacks like crisps, and if they had like, a small sandwich, they always had, ham or tuna sandwiches, something simple. They never had boiled eggs as a kid. In high school, they change, they become a bit more mature, and they realize that, okay, eggs, it's protein, it's good for you, and they're okay with boiled eggs. In fact, even school serves boiled egg sandwiches as well. But in primary school, I was totally shocked. I took boiled eggs once with me, and they gave me some absurd reaction. Oh, you've got boiled eggs with you. Who eats that? I'm like, come on.
Oh, that
This
was a
was one
very.
of the biggest cultural shocks I had. Yeah.
I don't know why they really don't care about the food they are eating. Of course, they choose the best ones, the healthy ones, but they don't eat a lot like Iranian people, and they have got just one main meal. Many people believe that learning English is enough before moving abroad. Do you agree? Why or why not?
Um, my answer would be that learning English wouldn't be enough, because when you learn English from course books, you get familiar with the basic, foundation of the English language. Even at very advanced levels, you get familiar with a lot of expressions, with a lot of vocabulary. That's all good. But I'm gonna support what I'm trying to say with one example. In course books, you learn that if you want to run away, you could say, "I'm gonna run away, I'm gonna escape, I'm gonna flee." You learn all these standard ways of saying run away or escape. But you don't get familiar with British slang. And imagine you go to the UK, first time in your life, and let's say if you're not an adult and you're a teenager, it's your first time in high school, and let's say your friend, does something wrong, and he tells you, "Someone leg it." Like, leg it? Since when Was leg a verb? You know, leg what? Which leg? You know, you become confused. You're like, leg it? He legged it? What does that mean? And then when you ask them, you realize, oh, leg it means run away, escape, flee, get out of there as soon as possible. Yeah? But you never get, taught these things in books, in English classes. And the only way you could learn it is by probably watching movies, British series, especially the more modern ones. Don't watch Sherlock Holmes or Downton Abbey. They use standard English. But maybe if you watch, I think there was a movie based on gangs called, it's a very old movie. It's called Kidulthood. Kidulthood. In these British movies, you will get familiar with a lot of British slang, which is used a lot throughout London, especially. So this is but I mean, those who want to immigrate for education, going to university, it's not really a big concern on those fellas because they are entering an academic, environment. But in the park, let's say, or in the streets of London, they would hear the vast majority, I would say, the vast majority of Londoners using slang. Not Cockney slang. I'm not talking about apples and pears meaning stairs. No.
And using these slangs by the people who are there really can kill your confidence, because you learn something in your country and you want to go there and do it and speak with them. Suddenly you can, wow, what is he talking about? I cannot understand. I passed many courses in my country. Well, the second thing that we have to know the culture of the country, or as you mentioned, we have to watch many relevant movies that can help us to learn those slang or vocabularies or some special words that you use. In your opinion, what's the bigger barrier for immigrants: language ability or speaking confidence?
The biggest barrier, I would say, maybe speaking confidently. I guess even those who have band 8 of IELTS, band 7 of IELTS, which is a very good band score, it shows that their language ability is high. But unfortunately, when they start to reside in the UK, there are many places, many circumstances in which they feel that, okay, why can I not use the vocab that I learned in my classes? Or why is my listening weak? Why can't I understand them? And it's not about language ability in this situation. I think it's mainly because those people are actually English and you are now finally facing them and you're maybe stressed. And in many cases, when it comes to speaking, you always try to make it difficult for yourself. I want to use better vocabulary. Where in fact, when you look at the vast majority of the English people, they tend to communicate smoothly. They don't tend to use, inversion in their speaking, difficult grammar, difficult structure. Recently, I was teaching a section, a unit in Speak Out B2+, okay? And it had some expressions related to preferences. You could say, I prefer to, I'd rather, I'd sooner. And I was thinking to myself, I lived in the UK for 13 years. Not once did I hear an English teacher or any of my teachers in school or any of my classmates use I'd sooner. I'd sooner read a book than
Or
play
or
video games.
had rather. we have got another complicated and difficult. Had rather just few teachers even know that, and you can find them in a very old grammatical books, and but they think the English teacher thinks that if they teach these kind of unique things on a class, they are somehow are perfect teachers, but uh, people abroad don't use these things. They speak very in a simple way.
Yeah, yeah. In simple way, they communicate easily. I mean, when it comes to, let's say, better vocabulary, better grammatical structures, yes, on TV, you hear, the journalists, the hosts, hostesses, those type of BBC people may use better vocabulary, better grammar. But the vast majority of, Londoners, they speak normal and in fact with more slang than standard English.
You have worked with language learners from years. What's the biggest mistake people make when preparing for the migration? Or
When language learners prepare for immigration, in my opinion, their biggest mistake is, I mean, there are two types. There are those who suddenly realize that they want to immigrate, and then they suddenly decide, oh, I need IELTS, and they don't evaluate their own English. They just have one, and I need band 7, and they cannot even speak. Their English is weak, and they just want a miracle. I mean, that's never gonna happen. They have to study English. There is no shortcut. This is number one. Number two, there are those people who have, let's say, good language ability, and they're at about band 7. Their level is band 7, their aim is band 7, and you, as an English teacher, an IELTS teacher, you evaluate them, you tell them, look, this is your writing, you're at band 7, go take the test. And a lot of these candidates, they hesitate. I don't know why. And we live in Iran right now, we're in the war, and I know some of my students, they could have taken the test before the cancellation, and the total stop of IELTS tests in Iran. They could have taken it, but they hesitated. They said, no, we need more classes. Why? Go take the test, get it over and done with. They are, completely two different type of people. Those who are not good enough and they just want to go for IELTS, and those who are good enough and they don't go. Get it over and done with. Get your IELTS certificate. Immigrate as soon as possible.
oh, that's perfect. Yes, exactly. What
Yeah.
opportunities do people miss simply because they are afraid to speak? Jobs,
Oh,
networking, friendship,
yeah.
university, daily life. What else?
I'm gonna tell you a little story about a friend I know. One of our neighbors, previous neighbors in London, when I used to live in London, I had this Iraqi neighbor. His name was Mustafa. Mustafa lived in Holland, the country that you're in right now. He lived in Holland for many years, and from Holland he immigrated to the UK. So his English wasn't that good, okay? So he had this language ability problem, but he was in high school. But he was a very smart kid, very smart guy. And he always had very good grades, very good scores in high school. So he actually pushed himself up. But when it came to university, he wanted to major in, I don't know, something in the science field. But because he, had a lot of, let's say, black friends, and he used to play football a lot, the language ability that he got exposed to was mainly slang. And then for university, when he had the interview, he couldn't perform, with good standard English. He used, for example, the word like as a pause filler. Like, yeah, basically, yeah, like. He used like a lot in his speaking. And that really affected his interview, and he couldn't major in the subject he wanted, although he had the requirement of those levels. His English wasn't just good enough. And that's why
Okay.
he managed to major in pharmacy, I guess, in medicine instead.
Okay. That was a good memory. Can you share another real example of someone who actually knew English but still struggled because they lacked confidence?
A real story. There are many people. I know many Iraqis, Persians, Afghans that have been raised in the UK, but the only reason why they lack confidence is because of their background. You hear many stories about racism. I'm not going to say that there are a lot of racism in the UK. I'm not there, I cannot judge. You have to talk with a lot of British citizens to, actually, evaluate if there is racism or not. But many of those British citizens, I'm talking about those people who went to primary school there, went to high school there, went to university there, and they couldn't find a job. They couldn't find a job. Why? Is it because of where they come from? I don't know. You see many people. I know there was this guy who was a very, very, what do we call these guys? Geeks. He knew how to make websites. He knew how to make animations. He knew how to, everything, graphic designing, Photoshop, everything, After Effects, all that stuff. And he couldn't find a job. And then he landed a job in a restaurant, a Persian restaurant at the time. I heard now they've closed down. It was called Behesht Restaurant in Kensal Green, if I'm not mistaken. He landed a job there as a waiter. And I guess it was basically because of where he came from. Not because of his abilities and his certificates and the university he went to. I don't know why he didn't find a job. And now, fast forward, now he's working for these Arabic satellite channels. So he did find a job in his field, but he's working with the Arabs. He didn't find a job in the outer British world, English world. He found a job amongst his own group of people.
Why do many students study English for years but still freeze when they have to speak in real life?
It's a very good question. I think it's primarily because they lack confidence, as we said earlier. I think they are unsure which word to use, which vocabulary to use when they speak, and that's why they freeze. I don't think it has, bigger reasons than that.
Imagine there was an AI companion that actually knew each learner personally. It remembers your mistakes, practices conversations every day, prepares you for the interviews, role plays real life situations, even watches movies with you and discuss them. Would something like this solve problems that traditional language learning doesn't?
Ooh, that's a very good one. When it comes to AI, it can be a very helpful tool. So I would say that yes, it can prepare you for interviews. It can remember your mistakes and remind you that, you made the same mistake again in your speaking, in your writing, let's say. So in that aspect, yes, it can be very helpful, but we also have to be, careful that AI doesn't do everything for us. You want to write a simple email and okay, AI, you do it. You want to write an essay for your university, AI, you do it. Then where does the human learning come from? I think we have to know how to use it as a tool. For practicing, okay, but for doing the actual job, no, I'm against it.
Do you think interacting with an embodied AI means a robot that has presence, okay? AI companion feels more natural and engaging than using a chatbot? Why? Chatbot like a ChatGPT, Duolingo, or something
Like
like this.
ChatGPT, yeah.
Yes.
When it comes to embodied AI or AI companion, I think it becomes more natural. I haven't used it myself, so I cannot talk from experience. But I could imagine that it could be more natural than using your average ChatGPT. So yeah, that's about it. I don't have any experience, but I think it does.
How valuable would a companion like Tichi be before someone even leaves their home country? Before they leave, they have something like Tichi to talk to. I don't know and get familiar with the culture of that country and make themselves ready and gain that confidence for the immigration.
If Tichi is able to act like like a real, I don't know, English person, a British person, and would give replies that your average George and John would say, then that would be amazing. I think it would be very valuable to have a companion like that, because it's like you are 10 steps ahead of many other English language learners.
Do you think universities should provide tools like this to international students?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think universities should provide such tools, I guess, prior to actually getting accepted in university. So once you apply and you're accepted, but your semester hasn't started yet, they could provide you with these tools to practice at home, let's say. And then once you arrive to your class, once your class starts, then you are more prepared than those students who didn't have that luxury.
What about employers? Could Teachy help international employees become productive and confident faster?
For employees, Tichi could help international employees that are expert in their field but lack the language ability. If they, for example, I know a guy named Human. Human is a 3D character artist. He creates designs for PlayStation games. If someone like Human lacked language ability, then Tichi could be a very useful tool for him, because not only he's working on his designs, but he is also preparing himself in terms of his English abilities to present that character. In that way, it could be very, very helpful.
And final question: if you had one piece of advice for anyone planning to immigrate to another country, what would it be?
My advice for anyone planning would be to think about IELTS in this way. Don't think about the IELTS exam as a big monster. You don't need to, spend like a year on the IELTS exam, but work on your English abilities more than anything. If you have, let's say, 2 years, I would work 1.5 years on English abilities, English skills, and around 6 months on the IELTS exam. That would be enough, and then you could, actually start your immigration process.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
And
for having me.
that was a perfect experience for me to talking to you.